Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of y'all, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Listen, gentlemen, I want you all to know something that's very important. You're about to be told a bunch of lies that Indonesia's changed its laws because of you. Indonesia has been calling for a further Islamization at a federal level for a long time. They've been calling for this since the end of 2004 and the beginning of 2005, actually about the beginning of 2005. When that tsunami swept through in the last week of 2004, keep in mind, Indonesia is a Muslim nation. They reacted differently than Thailand. That tsunami also mashed up coastline of Somalia too, but people don't want to talk about that. They didn't get much aid either because of that. Sri Lanka also got hit, but people know about it hitting Thailand and Indonesia. It messed them up, and it did. The tsunami did some serious numbers on them. Now in Thailand, they said, well, you know what? They pretty much looked at Thailand and they said, well, this was a tsunami and that was about it. But in Indonesia, they said when a natural disaster hits and it's allowed to really damage us like this one did, it's because we're doing certain things wrong. And this is the Muslim view on it. Volcanoes erupt, tsunamis can erupt, but if they mash up human life and settlements and buildings, they damage a lot of human beings, it is because of our sins. This is actually our take on it. A lot of religious people in general, not even Muslim, have this a similar take. I remember when New Orleans flooded. And a lot of people said its corruption was being cleaned out. What I do know is this. I know that voodoo was really strong in New Orleans. It was on the Gulf Coast in general, but I know it was really strong in New Orleans at the time that this happened. Voodoo was no joke. People were doing stuff and getting results. I know because somebody someone actually put roots, if you want to call it that, on a childhood friend of mine. From age 6, we'd been going to school together and playing together, and we were friends, and he eventually became Muslim later and then left. I'm not supposed to know he left, but he did. But long before that, someone put roots on him and it worked. I saw him be so dumb, he darn near got us arrested. Us. Not only that, he wasn't the only one. Look, since that time, there are more documentaries on voodoo in New Orleans than there are actual practices going on since that time. When Indonesia got hit with the tsunami, they began to call for stricter rules according to the religion, but they were doing this at the provincial level, like Banda Aceh. It's already been illegal in Banda Aceh. You could get flogged. And if it's rape, they tie you up in a suit and expose your rear, and they flog you, and you will see the pink flesh become exposed from the hits. Indonesia's not been playing for a while. Now, because it's at the federal level, that's going to affect Bali as well, where people largely went so that they could fornicate and dig out somebody. Most of Bali is already not Muslim. There's an island next to Bali, if I'm not mistaken, and that's largely Muslim. Muslim families tend to go there for tourism. This doesn't have to do with you passport bros and SYSBM, and certainly not SYSMB. That's not why Indonesia made these rules. As I've stated, when it comes down to the rules that are in Islam, it ain't about you or me. It's about us. It's about the rules themselves. We just got to follow them. So I want y'all to remember that. I've stated this before. And when I said that Islam is a solution for people in general, and that includes for our people, I know that a lot of us wouldn't want to hear that message. And that's because it involves discipline. It involves not doing things that people like to do. And that's for all human beings in general. A lot of us just don't like to be disciplined. I know that. And a lot of us, our people, are already angry and frustrated enough. So we chafe at any other set of rules, not always recognizing that they're necessary. And then, of course, add to that all the non-black people's attitudes towards black people. Because, with no exceptions, everybody dislikes us, right? We love to say that. I wish we wouldn't, but we do. Well, I'm telling you, black folks, I'm telling you that what's really going on here is not that. Just because, and it is true, just because northern Indians and Pakistanis and Afghans and Iranians and certain Arabs, most of whom are actually North African and not so much from the peninsula, ironically, look down on us, if not dislike us, doesn't mean the whole world's that way. And Southeast Asia does not have anti-black sentiment for the most part. I don't think we realize that. They're not going to sit up and react because black men who are passport bros are going over there to dig somebody out. Because really, most of the time when we go to places, if we're going to do anything that bad, we're going to go places where it's not viewed as being bad. We don't expect to get away with stuff. Black men, especially from countries that produce SYSMB, passport bros and passport gang, don't expect to get away with anything, even if it's not illegal. If enough people dislike it in an environment, we expect some kind of punishment to come. If not from God, then from them or both. Because we've lived in a society that already punishes us for being black, and that's not even illegal. Or societies, I should say, because you factor in the UK and Canada and you have that. We come from societies in which we already know what happens when you start messing with Becky, and then she gets scrutinized by her people because she was partying with too many of you. What is her go-to? Bill Burr said it. He joked about it. And then if she gets caught, if you get caught with him, you can just scream out that it wasn't voluntary and consensual, and he gets hung from it. Bill Burr talked about this. He called out the white woman, the bite witch. And I'm only saying it that way because of I don't want certain censors to be triggered and have this taken down, demonetized. But no, you're about to hear from sisters and then from Western women in general that you passport bros are the reason for this stuff. Because right now, all of the BMPTs are under the radar, but they're confusing all of us for you passport bros. They don't know the difference between you and SYSBM or SYSMB or passport gang. They're not aware. Or IBMOR. Right now, they've heard of passport bros. They keep saying passport boys, and they understand all of us as that. And they're going to sit up here and blame you by name. And I want you to understand, gentlemen, Indonesia's rules had nothing to do with any BMPTs at all. None of us had anything to do with that law being passed in Indonesia. It was about religion. And it's been about that for a while. As I stated, the difference is that Banda Aceh had certain rules, and Kelantan, I think that's a city, or no, maybe it's a province. They also had certain rules in place for a long time, over a decade now. They've been had that. And now it's going to start in 2023 at the federal level in Indonesia throughout. So what it's really going to do is it's really going to affect Bali. Bali's tourism is going to have to clean it's going to have to be clean now. Yeah, you can go to Bali. You can go with your wife. That's fine. But what you can't do, what you cannot do is think that you're going to go to Bali and pay some lady and dig her out and then y'all are done. You get caught doing, if you don't get caught, you don't get caught. But if you get caught, you can go to jail for a year. Now, in some states, they will flog you. Like Banda Aceh. And if it's a struggle snuggle, they flog you even worse. They don't flog you on the back for that one. If it's a struggle snuggle, the penalties could be quite severe. But I have seen videos in which people were sentenced to be flogged with their rear exposed and the skin was breaking. You could see pink underneath. That's what I saw there. And it was recorded. Now, the convict was wrapped up in a stiff suit. Couldn't move in the suit. His rear was exposed. But I saw it. That was at the provincial level. Now it's federal. So this is internal politics. And a lot of it is in response to the tsunami that ran through them in 2004 and taught them several harsh lessons. And they've had a few earthquakes since then that seem to come as if to be warnings to the people to clean up their acts. That's what's happening there. Brunei's already had that rule. If you go to Brunei, you can go with your spouse. But if you go there, think you're going to dig someone out, you were toast. You were done for. You can't do that. It's already in Brunei. A lot of people are afraid to go there. Malaysia, I think one of its states has rules against that sort of thing, but not federal rules. People there just don't understand if you're Muslim, you ain't supposed to do that. So this is stuff that's been, it's been going on like this there. What happens is that people tend to forget that Southeast Asia has some strongholds of Islam. I mean, at one point, the Philippines was Muslim. People don't realize that. The Philippines as a whole were. And they were referred to as Moros. That's the same as the Spanish word for Moors. A lot of people don't understand that. You got Muslims that live in Cambodia. You got some that live in Vietnam. You've got some offshoots that have become other religions, but they started off as Muslims just in Vietnam alone. Thailand South has Muslims in it before you even get to Malaysia. Singapore is large. There's a lot of Muslims. So even when the Sharia is not the law of the land there, I just want you guys to understand that there are areas that are Muslim, and sometimes the laws, they catch up to the standard. That's all it is. So do not let these Western hyena bitches start lying. First, Boom Shika's gonna lie about it, and then after her, Karen, Becky, and Amber with the purple hair gonna start lying and saying it's because of you guys. Y'all did that. No, the hell we didn't. We don't tell Indonesia what to do. We never tried to. We don't tell Thailand. We don't tell Malaysia what to do. And if anything, like I said, we may eventually have a UBMTP, which is Union of Black Male Travelers Passport. We may eventually have our own passports regulated by blockchain technology, meaning you got to have a chain of references. We'll eventually have that. And not every nation will take them, but some of them will. And since for the most part, we're not trying to go to Germany and Scandinavia in large numbers anyway, brothers that are inclined to go to certain nations that aren't those nations will probably get the most out of such a passport. Regulated no longer by governments the same way that their currencies now no longer regulated by them. And the main countries that are most likely to accept a passport like that, a Union of Black Male Travelers Passport, a UBMTP, those countries are most likely to be some in South America and the continent and Southeast Asia. We don't expect Europe to come to start accepting something like that, or Canada, or the UK, or the US. We would not expect that. Now, the DR probably would accept something like that because they'll already take passport pookies. I mean, how are they going to stop them anyway? We might accept, maybe Colombia may accept something like that one day. Because believe it or not, Colombia tends to be able to think independently of Europe. So too does a lot of Brazil, even at the political and federal levels. Absolutely, they can. There may come a day that Costa Rica does. I wouldn't expect Argentina to. I wouldn't expect Chile to. But then again, a lot of us aren't going there either. Uruguay and Paraguay, I don't know what they would do. And I don't care. Most of us don't go there either anyway. If we do, we go through these areas and then leave. I think Guinea-Bissau might accept it one day. But that's another topic for another day. Right now, I want you gentlemen to understand that the next lie you're about to hear is that these countries did, or that Indonesia and any other nations that might make similar laws, you're going to hear that they made these laws in response to you going there. No, the hell they didn't. Europeans, yeah. Gulf Arabs, probably so. Us, hell no. We know not to do. We know what not to do when we go somewhere. And another lie that they've spread is that African-American brother in China that got sentenced to capital punishment for murdering his girlfriend was one of us. That man didn't know nothing about no passport bros or SYSBM. He didn't know nothing about that. He was just in love with a lady in China, and I don't know, she didn't come through on something that he felt she should have, and he took her out and he stood in front of a court and got sentenced to death. That's what we know. That man had a Muslim name. He wasn't supposed to have a girlfriend in the first mother cuss word place. It's okay if he wanted to marry someone, but he was supposed to try to marry a woman with the similar beliefs as him. That had nothing to do with us. Thank you for listening as always. Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you again for choosing Jet Black Airways, wherein jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Justice forever.